men kai cross and the hair holiday, but ja. Mobile day.
Na just when tie the president di tu dwa enra. Wo mo modern e chire mu kwan kura Ghana for ye fa so nya ye independence. Na wo bobo so no wo chire ye se ono ne na busuafo de o mo fight for independence ba. The independence ne de as the president he reject the notion say eye nipa baako energy eye fa wodi ma wo man Ghana. Wo chire mu say the Aboriginal Rights Protection Society ne de eyo womo a na busuafo womo ka ho ana anenam so a ye di independence no ye di be wie eno ana owura John Dramani Mahama so say o Ghana de enimu a ye JB Nkrumah. He is the redeemer, he is our founder. Menim de won so wo kafa ho.
Yeah, Dr. Renard, since the political history of Ghana has been told in plain language. And over the years, I think we've all have been enlightened or exposed to the details of events that led to Ghana's independence. Yes, I do admit the fact say one person alone cannot say independence. I'm all mine. Or is he a course involve around a lot of people? But you see, a kwaba. Rested on the shoulders of a person who led the cause. And in this particular instance, so what the role of JB Nkrumah, Abra, Oba Krum Hasei, UGCC for Kofana Baye, na Oshe Omomoto den, and Nkrumah Yakofana Baye, no, as he said, no, everything was wrong with the notion, say, Yan Chang. Your friend said the possible time. Okay, say no, it should be done now. And also other countries, like India, Mahatma Gandhi, ne other great people, Nelson Mandela, and as a forum. And Mandela and Kwana fighting for apartheid. We know. Even other countries, Africa, I can be. There are a lot of forces. A bit of more life. Whole lot of individuals are making sacrifices, including students. So we are aware that students are route. Am I shoot to a binomo the movie crime in Salafina movies or here?
Yes.
I account I see a lot of people were sacrificed in the journey to secure South Africa will gain independence. By now, the central pointer na adini revolve around him. Na Nelson Mandela. Because Dr. Ren, you can't bundle a group of people and say yes, celebrate Omunina because Omona fighting for independence. Whenever the struggle of independence is mentioned, and one person a name a bar, it doesn't take away say other people no encounter. But in recent times, I think that we have seen desperate attempts from President Akufo-Addo and Nkrumah, and you see their motivation isn't about the role these people are able to play. Motivating and whether you like it or not, they are part of the story, and they must take a front row. I don't know at your stages. Your mom will take the front row, and I will a bit more bands and maba. So when the story is being told in detailed language, a bit of beer from my bo beer ding. But Dr. Ran Babia wa kunjensino, yan coming from Kunkusi.
Hey, Tobo. Baby aden.
Yes. Baby wa konwa ensi no okwa afa ase na ye de wa konwa kusi ye friend say high table achi na wankasa wotam de kusi animu a next time na ye be fa akwa twene wa hwe ade na so kra na be pam wa firi ho obia wo baby a otena. And I think say that is the side stepper Akufo-Addo and the family, as I said, you to me. So let us make an attempt to rewrite the political, the history of this particular country by placing these individuals at the forefront. And this over here, Omoye, this first independence celebration we are Omoye. There was a timer. Omo printed individual big six, Even JB Nkrumah no crowd the lead way. No, you said that can nim banana buy no. Then it half and kahon. Yes. And other people were there. And there were more in recent times in United States. And Nkrumah crowd there, the struggle for independence and long kahon of the tomb.
No crabby said to CD now, JB Nkrumah Funny Dash na Tamils Press, you try, any circulation BMCC, enye legal tender bi yasesa no with a coin na Kwame Nkrumah mfo nyini bi anda so.
Yeah, honestly, me who be at officially no mama want him a car say ya call back the money, but ohwehwe bia unhu bi our system no. Ohwehwe bia unhu. So you see, some of these things may not be an official policy, but subtle no. Ohwe nema omo ye ni nyina na seek to denigrate the role Nkrumah player in our struggle for independence. And I'm saying, Sir Dr. Ren, if you want to tell your story, you can also hype and answer insist on the individual roles that these people abiding. Now, no, meet a lawyer and not a friend. Now, or why this big six buy and as we tell the story now, it's quite funny. What a big six now? I dare toward be fighting for independence. It wasn't so. There are people about and according to them, there were two people not among count, but your course say no more. Is it a and one other guy? And yet you are more count. I dare see in a newspaper say the big six have been arrested. So a newspaper headline and said they were part of the independence fight. Because Nipana Yokoshia no fin, your Dr. Ren, politics, and I said. Yeah, so for conspiracy, so your banners are one meter why, yeah, because I need
yeah,
and they rounded these people up. So the core individuals are not Mudu Musika Prayer support the UGCC. Papaya na there's a power grantor on the offer idea then you know by Nisika na all sponsor for every activity and no more. He wasn't even part of it. You can't tell
okay, you see. First of all, Ghana's independence, the road to Ghana's independence, I shall see with Papa be a friend of Jacob Wilson say.
Okay.
Now, Jacob Wilson say, say the whole Ghana and Yemboni ding. And I think said the people of Moko Infantipim Ekahumbi, they are not doing a great service to the man called Jacob Wilson say. And they say, Asasina a Infantipim Tisu say no. Na a papa dia and or the ma womo. Or some woman sika crasi and fancy and fantipim school. Those days, no, na a Wesleyan a year school. Pa grant boni din wako be. Now, the Aboriginal right, no, Jacob was say and what because he was a businessman. And at the time, he was the first multi-millionaire in Africa. No, Wisikapa. Now, one day we'll go into the story how he came about in the riches. He was just a farmer and a palm wine tapper. No, you hear niba. You niba do. Na maybe you could do your do and could two a year good year so. And it was a year massive gold our koto so. That was the beginning of the riches. Now when you sikano who said there be a brofuno mudi so no. So we free and so because when it comes to trade and commerce, we must see a tuntum for. So what a year Jacob Wilson say and I think that the president was narrating the story, but he did a disservice to Ghanaians about speaking the truth to the story and watch on the 4th of August, a year in his speech to the broadcast to the nation. Now, the disservice our president creating is no person who criticize sa Aboriginal right protection nebusianfo kan woboa nebusianfo bi ankan. This is what happened. Jacob Wilson was against the discrimination and the unfavorable matters of business abrofuno any year the British. And into who say almost is here etosumienu. The king at that time England in a year 96 to 1897. Omudi bibi a buyer your friend of the Crown Lands Bill. Na baby a womu colonial masters womo pese assassin womo fa. Eno na Jacob Wilson say ye de betu na anim no fa lawyer fo bi so mo say e banzen wo pede wo kire e wo de masem a wa atwere yi. Then they had to interpret it to Jacob Wilson say. Eno won say ama asemi de oye ebufusem oye de ye bibi fa ho enti o gada elite educated people from Nigeria, Sierra Leone and Ghana. And was a mudia munisika, na mo nimudia makuskumu ya lawyer for. Na me besuma mo sa monko English a ye krum and go and challenge this particular a ye Crown Lands Bill. That is the reason why a Ghana ya saseno ambe ye Brunidia. Because the Crown's Land Bill no a year from 1941 to a year 1951 no that notion no enam a year from 1896 to 1897 a year Jacob Wilson say etimi fight ye ema Ghana, Nigeria, Sierra Leone assassin ankoya abrofo ne dia no. And it's a wish ya South Africa for the assassin bi koya abrofo ne dia because at the time no muni nkofo a ombe fight ya ma. Zimbabwe is also an example. At the time no muni nkofo ombe fight ya ma. Nti Zimbabwe for so say no abrofo ne ye den ejefa. A South Africa assassin so abrofo ne jefa. Ye lucky to have a Ghanaian, the greatest of all. I call him the greatest of all because enye Jacob Sinsi ankene assassin abrofo dia. Oh no, ene ye wa sedebia yemfama no. Ne a free one aborigin right no. A year pa grant to free axim ye wonu benyin o yenzemani. Jacob Wilson say eye kwaw o yemfanti yenzemani ne fa yemfanti ne fa yenzema. So the fight of a year independence of Ghana no was fought by a year the Enzimas and the Central Region Emfantifo. Let's establish this particular fact. Ye can fact na one more a year tribal mo kon a year a fight against this a year colonialism no say obroni di so yempeno started with a year Enzimas and Fantis. Now Jacob Wilson say started a year the Aboriginal Right Protection Society no obi a akwada no wono so ebeka anwo a wo join ebie a obeye omo secretary at the time ni din eye pa grant ofri axim. Now, Pa Grant and the TUGCC on 4th of August 1947. What TUGCC no? The lawyer at the time, Akunwajeyi. And what catcher Akunwajeyi say, Abrofono Kran, na me a year secretary, a year Aboriginal Right Protection, na san komu free yokuru dada, and no free ho. And now from the First and Second World War, no so no, ye koba ye me hunu say abrofu ye business aye ye no money ye din kwan paso. Now let us establish the fact say 1920 to 22 no a year Pa grantee will be establish business our Germany and UK. A year England has say will be a timber a year merchant company our UK and will be able to Germany and will could be able to United States of America. Now after the Second World War we will say not British for no chiro and they were trying to take advantage of the Ghanaians. And into a fair Akwaje say, one so come up with a team of a young noble, elite, a year educated. Now young fighty engage abrofun is a time as I said we want self-government now. And that was the formation of UGCC. And a year Akwaje, a tonkra, a fre a year obechebilamte, and what to grafre a year awono. And what to grafre a year JB Danquah. Now, funny enough, so now a year just say Pa grantee, no a year the business and our Ghana and the timber merchant firm, no what spreading across a biko piemu ebuakwa. And the JB Danquah modi and you omunya achim kutokufu, omunya achim bosomefo, omunya achim ebuakwa and na a year akwaje di womobe kan a year the UGCC no say self-government now. So wo penokore pa de anka obeka say bibi a wo Bible mu a friend said a year the 12 disciple the last supper no senka Ghana ye kan ye pa de a enka ye Judas no ye JB Danquah because we betray the self-government now. And until 2 days to the death of a year Pa Grant no Kwame Nkrumah conversate no ka kire ne say and I'm saying when I would try me seek £100, and me be farm free Liverpool because what's my Akwaje so be whom me Liverpool or be whom me London when we organize a year the Pan-African a year a friend is saying right our United a year Kingdom our Manchester no be whom me 1949 mu no or be whom me no whom say so I am fighting for against segregation and also I'm fighting against a year abrofo awomudi Africa force so I was already established but when I came and I realized that the people I was seeing and fighting for self-government now no will be adane ne ho Judas Iscariot a friend JB Danquah woni ni nua no mo free achim aye bosome a wo mo no achim ebuakwa a wo mo no eye a friend is saying Kufuado ne papa no mo wo mo mpene so se obroni bedi eso ne but me de me pene so se obroni no wonko omo mpene so se abrofo ne beko omo mpene so se abrofo ne enko so ndi eso but ye de ye pene so se abrofo ne enko. And into the purpose I'm a ye mo secretary no that purpose me hunu send nkofo na ewo no eye nkofo bi omo habe into 2 days Pa grantee be wuru no woni Kwame Nkrumah tena ase ewo axim ene ni di nkomo esun ka kire ne se JB Danquah has betrayed the trust emwo keka nsem bebre emwo de ne sika kora boa no emmo mo for me the CPP enti initial CPP sika no mo start here no it came from the pocket of Pa Grantee wono nso ye nzimani na ofri axim This is the establishment and this where nam so ye benya the independence of Ghana. And sanko from you know amabo mudin. Aye Jacob was say any pa grant no ye body mpoa woman ka ho. Nenya ya. Iva to aso.
Dr. Ryan, good. I think that will illustration, establish the premise for this discussion, and I think that it was quite extensive. And it'll be OTBA, where this argument off. So, Abra stage in the city, yes, per independence. You see, the single role of Kwame Nkrumah play, the lead. Your friends a person for this liberation, obedient to me, enka. Nasem Africa has say out of the pool, he's the one person who by a symbol of hope, or by a symbol across Africa is celebrating. Why not everybody? Because of as an exceptional role that he played. For instance, my man starting from say Abraham now can UGCC they never had the intention of unifying Ghana at the Trans-Togo and the northern region the idea was to bring together the coastal regions. Naso munya Asante Kraka Hwa, omuye okay. But Nkrumah an organization because as a general secretary he was in charge of organization and reorganization. And you no ankasa sneaky out to engage the people in the Trans-Togo land and the northern regions. Then as for no more kasa say Ghana no and yet fibra way na yeba but sa unitary way it will involve all of them because you know kaboma na betimi amaya mine. And because this idea now it was different from idea not UGCC, spread the Yomo campaign. Again, it got to a point yes, seeking independence now. These people were saying, no, say about independence. And because at that point, some of them were enjoying even they pretend they are fighting independence, but you could see clearly say because almost say school then in the UK and they had classmates with these people, they felt comfortable and they were rather fighting against the movement for this change. Abra independence finally came, These people were in constant engagement with the Okene. Catch and say, even though Ghana for fighters are caught by their independence, the Kwame Nkrumah went there. But one cast of Mosha. Yahon Enyanso, Yahon Swinty, about one Yatonokuran, Yankum, because Ghana is not ready for your friends for independence. Sanema way you now make it is on record. These people eventually became saboteurs. Fighting for independence. They were on the other side trying to tear everything apart. So Nkrumah stood on his feet. From a prison, he won an election to lead this particular country. So that is an incredible achievement, and all by and them all by than I didn't know. And I'm said one person cannot fight for independence. Yes, liberty Ghana, and then I say for Dr. Ren, Metiha may kabi, what he how can be, obit in the platform so can be, but a courier we are. Nasa a bedrube be nasa obi sorry now the movement in him nasa that change but that person become a leader. But it doesn't mean that other people aren't contribute to. But the desperation is Nkrumah no yen denigrating yen yin free or founder because might be anywhere your founder. Who told you? South Africa our founder. And that founder Nelson Mandela. Mandela among for a coastal people march more than Mandela. And America as a student because of apartheid. You kubinum sa or software who now Tutu on find Desmond Tutu. Individuals at some point they became catalysts in this particular change. How they play a phenomenal and an outstanding role. And there are several people in South Africa. But when to mean come because apartheid, collectively people for no. Somebody need to lead the movement. It doesn't mean that other people Mahatma Gandhi and then as a forum Oko Singapore. Omo papa ye obechange o man ye bo ni din na ye bo but it doesn't mean so no kwan na ye
Lee Kuan Yew kra
yes exactly
Kwame Nkrumah no ma Kwame Nkrumah futu obi and if Nkrumah had listened to Lee Kuan Yew enka obetena se ache esen de ekoto no because
yes.
Lee Kuan Yew emiti Kwame Nkrumah na Kwame Nkrumah de ideologies ne philosophy to no wo ka kire Kwame Nkrumah say Enkof ideology we the one when you has here into Toboas na ye ABCD and Sana. And that ABCD no one watch and say he was able to try and clear some people from the courtest in him and should not take them lightly because one day no woman they be fighting against you or no
against him.
And exactly what Lee Kuan Yew said, exactly happened.
Yes. And see, and yes, nipa bi na akwatena baby na ya single Nkrumah out. Say onon kwa na fighting for independence yen celebrating. No. Nkrumah no ne influence no spread beyond the borders of this country. Na Ghana for na ya catch Egypt for so musi omo university omo fa Nkrumah we si ho. Ana Ethiopia, ana African Union, ana hwan. You see, the legacy of Papa no live in his wake, it transcended the borders of this country. So, in as much as now, until recently, Ansan Akufo-Addo enyama power no. Say indeed, if they believe say the role of these people a play area that much significant, I didn't know you waited till now. Now say MPP about power pain. Say na Akufo power. I didn't know at that time no or one rise. Because they knew say Kufuor will not buy into that foolish saying political propaganda no more
There be Kufuor who wouldn't baby. Kufuor won't pay Kwame Nkrumah. And it's an established fact to say one of the reasons why I have issue with Papa Kufuor. And I think years ago when some of us were with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs at the time, Kufuor time, those days, years ago. One of the reasons why Mubino and for we disagree with him, and I expressed my feelings towards Kufuor during the time I know president, and he didn't like Kwame Nkrumah. And the reason why I said Kufuor no buzia and a tete no, and a buzia no so no Kwame Nkrumah adamfo. Another one of the reasons why and so ana Kufuor pe buzias Kwame Nkrumah some say Kufuor people don't know say ne maame a wo no na wo ye Prempeh the second yere. Kufuor maame any Prempeh the second ako out da. Prempeh the second aware ne da. Wone ne wo ma. Na Prempeh the second no nso no ekodu mre bi ni JB Danquah akodada Prempeh the second. Enu ne ma Prempeh the second epa wo ne chifri Kwame Nkrumah ho. Wo mo kote mateme ho NLM no. That was the beginning. Na inti mame kinkan bibi na me fam batrasi point here yedi nkomo. And I like the way you saying say no one is saying say the independence of Ghana no was fought by only one person. But however no in every movement no one person is the founder or the father. In Tuba a friend is America. Emra Rick Van Winkle mo making sure say America no betimi anya ne fan wudi na ebenya fan wudi ama America no. Others also fought for it. Ebeya bedu baby say America there. Ye were one person ye kind the founders of America ye boni dini ye nim say people fought there. But when it comes to the crack of the matter say ye making sure said that independence no was achieved ye Kwame Nkrumah ne lead to it. And we know, say, a friend is saying, Ni Boni, no Otoso Miensa, during the boycott of 1948 against the European goods, a lead to the February 1948, 28 February, Christianborg Castle, a soldier phobi, a shere womonkwa, veterans for Miensa, Sergeant Ajete, Cooperativo, private, or datelamti, womoshe womonkwanya, de buff forward near Baby this uncle, sa a month for TSA. O my Ghana ne said ye tibia na anya no nipa ba kubi ene bo modin a press ya yetimi fight and na ma Kwame Nkrumah kwati Ghana national no because other people no more fighting for self government now no ebedu mrem na brofo no start say wo mu miemia wo sake wo entina say Kwame Nkrumah ti a college Ghana National College wo de betete sa ankofo Ivan to asomai
Dr. Ren entino eno ho asem na ye kan say at some point bia no ubenye nipa or lead America they are okay you can won't mean America story abra won can George Washington because I'm for him say indeed when it comes to say young fighting way the lead role in as a former I'm for you your friend saying Abraham Lincoln. And you know your theater you could try to all because of some of these things. Yeah, come home say a former or be say State of the Union or be say no state be under that particular way. So a man for sacrifice a lot. So far as a mind of bedroom baby or bedroom, but in the end, there is one person who always emerges as a star on it taking the lead role and Nkrumah. somebody or prisoner what me win a election from prison when JB Danquah say to true way about my same na amona na moya campaign Nkrumah never had a chance to do a campaign, yet he won, and that showed the significant influence the guy had. And again, as a president of Ghana, or Obedi or Minedim, and don't forget, say he is that first person in the sub-Saharan Africa has a president. Because Ghana was the first country who gained independence in the sub-Sahara, has the whole of, and or inspire other countries. Oh, we and one has he was all over Guinea, Mali, Burkina Faso, wine, but he was everywhere. And within a period of 10 years, now he has been able to inspire over 31 African countries to be independent. That is why he was all over. And there is no single political history around Africa about Africa in Africa. I will be Bima and Nkrumah and Nkrumah. It doesn't matter which country I can was him. But the guy was even seeking for the unification of the whole black African continent. Sebaya Yansuni bit powerful like the United States of America. And Ghana has said no. I think that the signatures are quite starring. So, and young Nkrumah na Babakachi will be some celebrity me. I Ghana for Natanase, and I Yatanase looking through the document, the history, the story, and the things that he did. And I'm for, oh, this guy did phenomenal. And to say, independence of Ghana, you cannot bundle these people together and give them the front row. Looking at the role that Nkrumah played, obviously Nkrumah will sit at the tabletop. Then more canning in a bit better than a tea. Nebus what no be a tea, no be a tea, sanity. But Anam said this, not make up for the you see. The entire not even though I know the history, UGC in Kufuane, yes, no, Nasa Nkrumah books I seen Nkrumah in as uncle for because they didn't want anything relating to Nkrumah to Ebeka. I brought friend I published most of the Nkrumah books and they never can you. Nkrumah, you see the books in our band you cannot. Yehuna say Nkrumah book kura better at that point. But enam say agenda na akufo ado ne Nkrumah no sell no related to atim na atim people no you cannot sell that particular thing to Kufo because at that point on buy, and it's the reason why they didn't put it forward. But now the person or your president and then the Nkrumah mu nyina the same atim people, and they are desperately trying to change the political history of this particular country. And I change or mu yi Nkrumah no from the front seat that's what we know back kind of one or mu yi Nkrumah from front seat. Try to make a case to say even how rule these Nkrumah we play no extra time Nkrumah and they should be recognized as such. And that is why people have problem. Because but we've read, we've listened to people who are around. We are privy to events and circumstances are accommodated to the independence of this particular country. When they tell the Sir Dr. Ren, you cannot put Nkrumah away as an individual, looking at the sacrifices in the Nasefwa, Abraham Nkrumah, don't forget we are school, your friend is saying, US, or by UK. UK no say Nkrumah be a lawyer. Or you law school, no, or control law exams, one pass it, and also control one pass it. So out of that frustration, now what I say, on who say or true be mana on true be no, and no na papaya or can say Miss Mamma no. So oba no, ne law when a nation and this no, adiagu on to pursue. So a life for our has to do make sure say this particular thing will go through until all sacrificing the time everything. Etina Nkrumah say obey at some point you who say Sam Nkrumah UGC for most of independence. Yeah, they are no can there, but me sure my brabo ne neyama mo ye say bi omo kekan. It doesn't look say they are ready. Enunti na manate na ho ye self-government now. E put the machinery in place. And I'm said the guy was so smart omo ni bo omo so no. Na the tentacles no I grow beyond the coastal areas and Asante and no can asem no. Kwame Nkrumah so and a northern region be a part of this country. Kwame Nkrumah so and a voter region by a part of this country because clans are not where can not vote and come home. And today
say you call it for referendum plebiscite near
yes
we say mobile some could join here to go for a number some of Ghana for and
yes
union mobile kaya
yes Yes. So only making these things now possible and Ghana, because Omokran they were even calling for a federal state. So because almost say resources no more assessing resources no one and fire Yesikan could develop your video. So they were living aggressively pushing for your friends a federal state by Nkrumah say no. So we said on mind munchichemu ebi will be a bit nibbling as for a cassia cosa and the unitary state. And no cry can who be no more strong character the comma. Pain say no, akwa we ya also by president or your mamboya 40 a canon quadrank independence. One for my
Maminkin can be cram away a letter
yes.
What was a dear Mr. Obdam, I exceedingly regret delay in replying to your 2 letters. That yes. Man, Kwame Nkrumah, and he said will be Kasanapuka Samo Kwame Nkrumah.
Yes, that man.
That man, Kwame Nkrumah, who is leader of government business, has started his tricks again. This time, he who is the government is inviting all the political leaders and chiefs to join him to send an ultimatum to His Majesty government of the United Kingdom for self-government now. And if rejected, to declare positive action strikes and boycott, etc. There has been hectic activities all over the place, and on Sunday, we of the UGCC met at a great meeting and turned down his challenge flat as being an invitation to criminal conspiracy against law and order.
Yes.
I had to be away in Kumasi for long periods last month, and I am just now clearing up a pile of work. Now, unim say the Kasano can say I had to be away in Kumasi for long periods. That was when he was trying to convince a Prempeh II, a year with Tumfo, as Antehine say. A ya Kwame Nkrumah na wo support no no amu watiku a wodi usika eboa ne so wo mo embo modian na yen call for independence no wono sa brantie no wono no wo pese wo de wo man no e di other people bi beke kakeka ye ho eba ne sa no wutumi no awo no emu be ya ha ntine Kwame Nkrumah no boycott no ene wo mo kote the NLM no. That was the beginning of a year pains and hatred from a year Prempeh II towards Kwame Nkrumah. And also now, actually no paragrant who says Sabranti na ye JB Danquah no when didn't crown farmer because the UGCCs no was for self-government now. Ivan,
yes. Dr. Ren, NTO, I mean, there's what kind this letter, and I'm sure that the signature to this letter, Papa, can I say me?
JB Danquah.
JB Danquah. So look at it. So fight say prefer who dear. Baby Amrena Druno, we need to take charge of our own destiny because Kwame Nkrumah has already told us the black man is also capable of managing his own affair. So you have to be aggressive because Dr. What dear could you be ho? Nandi pano, one more near Yadia on Fab Mount. That is why Kwame Nkrumah was so radical. And let me put it on record. Kwame Nkrumah is the most radical president of Ghana, even though he wasn't a soldier. So, president, Rawlings was a soldier,
a very disciplinarian,
yes, but very radical and very pragmatic. So, what kind of the books? Now we see any all trances. Now words are always in the tone and as a father to say yes, because now he was fighting for a cause. These people here, say. Independence by these are the letters I will kind be trying to sabotage and snatch on him. Said no, Akwana Odi no I am boy for this is JB Danquah telling the Queen. Say my independence and my because Kwame Nkrumah no Odi no and Yenipa. No, won't me rely on him. Because Jim Crawford be no more Ghana for or don't baba kaya home and a day basa and as a for beba. And this way are dear way, say a brantiano coswa, the other people can home. That's why I'm fighting for independence nearby. Why do today come back and say, a yawo and I'll buy? And indeed, Abra Nkrumah independence, no. Sam Crawford way, they never among rest you. Na to the extent that JB Danquah was arrested and charged with treason, and he died in prison. To be charged with treason, that's the highest crime of a country. We are charged with treason. Now we do for the next line, and that's how we call life imprisonment. And that because it's one of the highest crime in our constitution. And JB Danquah was charged with treason, and he was imprisoned, and he died in prison.
Can you imagine, say, a cry, Timaya Ghana, now will be a charge with treason, and they were no moment at the Ghana Sikaso. Can we just even imagine?
Yeah. So in the real story, no, and Kono cried, yeah. When that Dr. Ren, what's your mind? What's me, Bobra, Papa, sa, Udru baby, I say, oh, Papa, ya, Wakotia, Prawato, what in few men, sa, Atonomona. Dear, why yin, Papa, and book be out, won't be a cry, Papa, no, yeah, be you a film, because I dear Bacona, why, no, that indignation, you know, a color the why yin, and it will take you to zero. And that is what JB Danquah did. And think I can't be a summer, can JB Danquah cry there, and this ain't even though he played a certain role, but because of the way of conducting, now on my he was fighting from within. To break down the country, no, my charging with treason to the sense of that prison, no. What do you mean to know? Now again, CPP, I can't want to mean. Now, Kwame Nkrumah, the CPP as a political vehicle.
JB Danquah no can say, "You vote no to Republic Constitution." No can say, "Me vote to say you be gaining independent." For me, let me be honest with you. Factually, I'm here to see documented. JB Danquah contributed towards the independence of Ghana. I'm yet to see, because every book be I may read the he went against the self-government now. No one person benya independence. Okay, can Chronicles, and I think say Chronicles crowd ebedu mrebi crowd here. Omo se Kwame Nkrumah no crowd no. Yento a friend say ye mbomodi an ye mpe bombs ne mfam bombe no ne assassinate no kulungungu bombing. Uhwen kofo we nyoma omo ye against Kwame Nkrumah. Yes.
And these are people and you see the funny aspect of this whole thing, they say even a no say Dr. Ren, and as we are making in inverted commas. Say I no say JB Danquah no wafase Nkrofo FY nya independence mpa and baby and wafase na sa atimfo e dia ba begina sa independence no eni hobiem, because as we speak Ghana is fighting for a new independence. Since when I call elections Akufo time Rawlings time na for Ghana for say we are fighting for our third independence. The by na TV. Because the Yewomi is more than slavery, and it's the same blood, it's the same tradition, it's the same people from the same family, from the same lineage. And then, omo de Ghana to slavery, and then omo enjoy, because I Japadia document here by Nancy Omoke Kankwasa some farmers and no as a clearly a true says they had an agenda from day one, plan how to plunder this country, and omo adnam so aba bedru ele nti senka independence bi kura omo wuro bi wo ma nka ende the omo tiso ende they've taken away that particular independence, you understand? So I think say a desperation and abai no free, so I'm sure say things will reverse to normal, because some of this nonsense and nobody will better tolerating as a form, because you cannot take Nkrumah away. And UGCC now you're forming, say UGCC now forming the four guests in as a form, no? Yes,
UGCC no a par grant in the many no Brazil, no, a for me.
Dr. Renas, and yet, damn, and then cracking the whole team. The UGCC never won independence for this country. It wasn't the political movement that did independence. So if anything as a woman found Nkrumah no cry, why not the CPP? Because the CPP will.
Unim say the Onipakrono or tail UGCC, no. Me say 2 days a wo bewu in 1956 a wo ba bewu no Kwame Nkrumah kwasra no e wo Axim ono an kase ye nsoma Kwame Nkrumah no ombra